What's up? What's up? This is Anime Fan OP 2016. I'm here to give you guys some of my predictions and picks for the 2021 NFL Divisional round here coming up this weekend. I'm really excited. Should be a fun weekend. We have four really good teams, really good matchups. They were all really good games, and I think it wouldn't surprise any of us if any of the four teams won their respective games. Uh, a lot of high level coaching, high level quarterbacks. Obviously, I mean this is where it gets good. This is where the pretenders are kind of separated from the contenders. So after this, you'll know who's really here, who's really real. So I'll kind of go through each game and then make my prediction at the end. The way I'll set it up is I'll talk about each respective offense and defense separately, and then I'll kind of tie it together at the end and make my prediction. We'll go ahead just kind of in a row here and start with the first game of the weekend. The Cincinnati Bengals are visiting the number one seed, top seed in the AFC conference, the Tennessee Titans. I want to start with the Bengals. First of all, congratulations. First playoff win in 31 years. Joe Burrow's playing at a high level. These guys are legit. They're going to be here to stay for a while. Bengals offense, we know with Burrow in the lineup, they've been one of the best offenses in all of football for the last basically close to 2 months now. They have high level receivers like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Boyd. And then they got some nice receiving running backs and running backs in general with Joe Mixon and whatnot. But I do worry about their offensive line. Burrow has been sacked over 50 times this season. Some of them are on him, reading the game better and whatnot, and not taking those sacks. You won't see Brady or Rodgers taking those sacks. But a lot of it also has to do with just really how bad their O-line is, especially their right side with Isaiah Prince, right tackle. So this game is going to be important on like how they game plan to really help off the Titans D line, which I'll talk about later, one of the best in the NFL. How they can help their O line, how they can help Burrow, get the quick game out, get the passing game going. Can they really protect the O line? I don't know why, but I'm feeling like the Bengals offense might struggle this week. Last week, if you watched their game closely versus Las Vegas Raiders, the offense was kind of on and off. They would kind of have drives where they go all the way down to the red zone and stall. They had a couple drives where it ended in the first series 3-0. There's such a high and miss offense, and after the highs of last week, not just the offense general, but like just the team general, I think they're gonna be not as ready as what's gonna hit them in Tennessee. Their defense, on the other hand, can really carry the day. I've liked this Bengals defense under, I believe, Lou Adamori, the defensive coordinator. Um, uh, they're also kind of high and low too. They've had games where they've really shown out. But what's keeping them really in a lot of games is their D line, especially Trey Hendricks, C.J. Hubbard, a couple of those guys in the D line have been some of the best in the league this season. They get pressure on you. Their secondary is really hot and cold, but they do have elite cornerbacks. Shidobi Awozi, Eli Apple, I believe, is doing good for them. They can get hands on you sometimes, but they've been really good. So let's go over to the Tennessee offense side. Titans offense, also another unit that's been really on and off this season. Since Derrick Henry's been out, they've really relied on their defense to get going. They have relied on Dante Freeman, who's been running decently well for them. But with the return of Derrick Henry, that's really going to be the biggest storyline going to this game. Is he going to be rusty? How much are they going to run him? Is he going to be on a limit count? I expect Mike Vrabel to go for it, get Henry going, and I know Henry's going to be ready. I am a little bit worried about Tannehill. He's won playoff games. He's made an AFC title game. But he hasn't had the best numbers. Again, not all his fault. They have Derrick Henry. They want to lean on the running game. But how much? Let's say you're down 10 in the fourth. Can you really rely on Tannehill to throw you back on a comeback in a playoff game like this? I mean, he's had a lot of comebacks the last few years, but in a playoff setting, That's going to be tough. That's something he's going to have to show me. Their O line is not as bad as Cincinnati's, but they've been really hot and cold this season as well. They're getting some guys back. They're getting healthier. So I trust Tennessee's O line more than Cincinnati's. And then they also have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. We all know playoff Julio. He's obviously regressed this season. This isn't like prime 2017, 2016 Julio Jones. But in one playoff game, I'll always trust Julio. A.J. Brown is their best wide receiver. He's one of the best in the NFL. I think he's really going to show out. Let's go over to the Titans defense. In my opinion, one of the most underrated units in all of football this season is the Titans defense led by Mike Vrabel. They've shut down a lot of good offenses, including Buffalo, Kansas City, Los Angeles Rams, and it really starts with their D line. You have like people like Jeffrey Simmons, Denico Autry, Harold Landry. Those guys are getting to the quarterback, wearing that those little red hand sleeves. I like to see them just because they're sacking the quarterback. They're getting to them. So going up against a weak Cincinnati D-line, this isn't Raiders where they kind of have just good outside edge rushers. No, the Titans, where they're good at is that D-line up in the middle. Probably the best D-line in all of football, in my opinion, this season. But there are areas where the Titans need to, tighten up, especially their secondary. They have probably one of the worst secondaries in the league, and going up against Chase Higgins and Boyd and all the other weapons that C.J. Uzama that the Bengals have. The secondary is going to be really a place where they need to be tightened up. Thankfully, though, they have some of the better safeties in the NFL. So Kevin Byard is one of the best in the league. This will be a really interesting matchup. I think this is a really close game. I trust the Titans to make a little bit more plays at home. I think the defense will come up good in big spots. I'm going Bengals 17, Titans 21. Let's go on to the Saturday night game, probably the game that I'm most hyped about just because of how intriguing it is. It's the San Francisco 49ers visiting Lambeau Field and playing the Green Bay Packers. This game, there's two historic franchises. We've seen this matchup a lot over the last few years, especially with Kyle Shanahan versus Matt LaFleur, two of the young offensive geniuses in the NFL with Sean McVay and whatnot, etc. Let's start with the 49ers and their offense. The Niners are probably the hottest team in football right now, in my opinion. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. This offense is playing at a high level. The O-line allowed no sacks last week. They had a good week against the Rams the week before that. You have Deebo Samuel, who's basically like Weapon X. You have George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell's running well for them. And then you have Mike Shanahan under the controls. Really, if you just looked at this offense and says, man, this offense is amazing. What's wrong with it? Obviously, it's Jimmy Garoppolo. He's banged up. He's injured. He has a torn ligament in his thumb. He has a shoulder that's kind of junky right now. In cold weather, that's something that I'm going to be looking for. But good thing is, Shanahan is going to get him into better situations, especially on third down. They're going to be running real well, I think, on the first few downs. So it'll be interesting to see how the Niners are running there. Jimmy G, he's going to be the X factor. He has to show up. He has to make some throws. He has the skill players to do it with Deebo Samuel, Kittle, Ayuk, Jawan Jennings is the guy that stepped up. The 49ers defense has also been playing just as well as the Niners offense. This pass rush, a lot of unsung heroes there. You have Nick Bosa, you have Eric Armstead, but if you ask someone else, hey, who else is on this D-line, there's no one that, casual can really speak up, but they've been playing extremely well. It's going to be interesting to see if Fred Warner plays in their secondary or in their linebacking for the linebackers. Fred Warner is one of the better linebackers in the NFL. He did kind of have a down season, but I expect someone like that, his quality, it's going to show out. The secondary is probably the weakest unit, but it's been much better now that they have Aubrey Thomas coming back and whatnot. So it's going up against Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. They'll still have to show out. They did lead the NFL in passing interferences, so that's something to watch. Especially, we'll see if Bosa and Warner play. I think they're expected to be played to play. Let's start over with now. Let's start with the Green Bay Packers, the number one seed in the NFC. For my money, probably the best team in the league this season overall. They drew a tough matchup though with San Francisco. This is a team that's physical. The Niners, they're going to be coming to Lambeau, but they have the NFL's most valuable player, Aaron Rodgers, on their team. He's been playing the best football, arguably of his kind of late career here. He has really elite play caller in Matt LaFleur. They've really meshed well over the last few seasons. The Packers' offense is all about control. They don't really hurt themselves. They always feel like they're in control with what they're doing, the plays that they're running, the situations that they're putting themselves in. Third straight season where they've had less than 13 turnovers. They lead the league in least turnovers this season. They don't get a lot of penalties. They're just really a clear and crisp offensive line. They lead the league in top time of possession. So just the way they run, I just love watching the Packers offense. It's just clean brand of football. And when you have Aaron Rodgers throwing to Devontae Adams, throwing guys to like Alan Lazard, who's playing his best football in December, one of the more underrated receivers in the NFL, this, in my opinion, just for his blocking. And then you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Really, these two are like fire and ice. They mesh so well together. Dillon, 20-degree, 15-degree, 10-degree weather. It's going to be tough to tackle that guy. So I think the Packers offense is going to come out. They're going to be running the football. They're going to get Rodgers into good situations on third down. I expect them to put up points. Packers defense. This is really the biggest X factor of this game because I think this unit, if they show up really bad or if they show up really good, they can decide the game. All the other units, I know they'll show up. But this Packers defense, if you go back to the Week 3 game versus San Francisco, that game really kind of shows you what their defense, a view of their defense for the whole season. First half, they looked really amazing. They were getting to the Jim Garoppolo with Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark was causing problems. Their linebackers were playing really well. Their secondary with that rookie Eric Stokes was playing well. And then just with a flip of the switch, completely melted down second half. They felt slow. They felt like they weren't setting the edge well. The linebackers weren't getting into really the right positions. That's what the Niners offense does to you. It really stretches you out. The Packers defense has had their good moments. But ever since the Week 13 game versus the Minnesota Vikings, they've really collapsed. I think actually Week 11, my fault. The defense has completely collapsed. They've been giving up big plays. They've been giving up big plays on running game and passing game. They haven't been able to get off the field on third downs. I will say this, though. They are getting Zadarius Smith back. They are getting Whitney Merciless back. Those guys are bodies that you want to be playing, especially on third downs. They have Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith, who have been one of the better duos in the league this season. If they show up, they can completely take control of this game because I know the Packers offense well. But if they're getting gashed by Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, Kittle has always had his number with the Packers defense, it's going to be a long night for the Packers. So this unit is really the key for this game. Overall, though, I really think Aaron Rodgers at home is going to get the deal done. I think the Packers offense is going to be able to control the ball. They don't want to put their defenses in any compromising places. They're going to want to keep the ball away from the Niners offense. The Niners will want to do the same. I trust Aaron Rodgers at home. I'm going to go 49ers 23, Packers 34. Now over to the Sunday slates. You have the first game. It's going to be the Los Angeles Rams visiting the defending Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is another matchup that we saw this season, including Packers and Niners. This was actually the same day as Packers and Niners back in Week 3. This was the afternoon slot. This game was played in LA at SoFi Stadium, and it was a shootout, like kind of what I'm expecting for this upcoming game to be. Let's start with the Rams offense. Sean McVay is 2-0 against the Tom Brady, Bruce Arians team. ever since Brady came down to Tampa in 2020. Um, It'll be interesting to see. He's been able to move the ball really well with Goff and Stafford against Todd Bowles' defense. Stafford has been playing well in a vacuum. Stafford, to me, is a guy that really you can tell early on what type of game he's going to have, similar to Kirk Cousins. If he's throwing the ball well, if he's comfortable, you know that he's going to have a good game. But he's also prone to those moments where he's just, I don't know, his brain shuts off or whatnot, those turnovers. And you know who's really good at forcing turnovers? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Rams are going to have to play the cleanest game of the season. They need to stick to their game plan. The O-line has good is one of the better pass protection units. Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle, is injured. Their backup isn't. He's decent, but he's not Andrew Whitworth. Their running backs are running well the last few weeks. Cam Akers, how did he come back from that Achilles injury? Sonny Michel's been one of the better running backs. And their wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, the best wide receiver in football this season. OBJ, kind of having another or a late season renaissance here. He's kind of coming back. So I expect the Rams offense. They've been able to move the ball really well the last few times versus Tampa. I expect them to do the same here as well. The Rams defense. This unit is gonna really be like one of the big units. If I had to like kind of rank the units, I'd put the Rams defense at the top. They are facing probably the weakest units of the four in the Bucs offense right now, just due to all the injuries, especially on the defensive line. That's where you need people like Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd to kind of get out there. I know they'll show up. Can they get to Brady early and often? That's how you beat Brady. You got to get to him, pressure on early in the game with four, and kind of rattle him. Brady doesn't like to take big hits, doesn't like to move out of the pocket. If you collapse that pocket, he's a sitting duck. He's going to go down. Their secondary does have a few injuries. It'll be interesting to see if Tyler Rapp plays and David Long Jr. So those will be interesting to watch. And then Jalen Ramsey versus Mike Evans. That's a big matchup. Can Ramsey take him out of the game? If Ramsey takes Evans out of the game, it's going to be very tough for the Buccaneers offense to move the ball. They're a very compact defense. They don't make a lot of mistakes, but they're also soft at times. So if the Bucs start to push them around, like the Packers did, I think the Titans were able to do that as well. That's going to be a problem for the Rams defense. So they have to play a tough, physical, no mistake type of game. The Buccaneers offense, Tom Brady, what makes him the GOAT? He's prepared for each matchup. Every game, he's getting his offense going early and often. Go watch every playoff game he's played on the Buccaneers. They usually are always scoring on their first drive. Brady knows how important it is to kind of get up on the offense or on the other team's respective offense and put them in a hole right away. This game is going to be tough. If Tristan Wirfs is out for the Buccaneers, their backup right tackle is obviously not as good as Wirfs. If you watch the Eagles tape, not really good for that backup. I think his name was Sewell. I think the Bucs game plan is going to be short and intermediate game plan with Evans and Gronk. If they get Leonard Fournette back, it'll be interesting to see how the running game is at. The Bucs running game is weird. I feel like when they want to run it, they can. They're a physical team. They just don't do it as much. Is it because they want to use, obviously, the magical blessed hand of Brady? That'll be interesting to see. Can the line block for Brady? Give him time, because I know Brady will find his guys. And then these young backup wide receivers, Scotty Miller, the Jackson guy from the Gophers, or Tyler Johnson from the Gophers, a couple other young guys, Bashard Perriman if he plays. Can they step up for Chris Godwin? Obviously, Antonio Brown is not with the team anymore. So can they step up? That'll be interesting. And then the Buccaneers defense, Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive coordinators in football. He's always has his team prepared. I feel like his game plans are almost always good. The Bucs defense has top-end talent, man. I don't think any other team has much top-end talent. Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, JPP. You have Shaq Barrett, Devin White, Levante David. Their secondary has some talented guys. They are banged up though. These guys are physical defense. They will get to you. They will hit you hard. They will punish you. And then you have Devin White, who always steps up in the playoffs. I don't know what's up with this guy. He just turns into a demon. Him and Levante David. They are having some injury issues in the secondary, so that'll be interesting to see. McVay's offense has been able to move the ball against them very well, though. I will be interested to see what game plan Bulls has, and how much can they get to Stafford here. So to make my prediction for this game, I just think, first of all, if the Buccaneers blew out the Rams, it would not surprise me. That's how amazing Tom Brady is. But I just think the Bucs have too many injuries to stay up with the Rams offense. I expect the Rams to put up points. I'm gonna go Rams 28, Bucs 24. But if Brady won and went on to win the Super Bowl, it wouldn't surprise me. That's what Tom Brady does. Lastly, our night game on CBS. Another regular season rematch. Buffalo Bills visiting the defending AFC champs, Kansas City Chiefs. This is going to be a really fun matchup. Mahomes versus Allen. Is this the new Manning versus Brady? Are we going to be able? Are we going to see these two guys, these two teams playing each other every postseason, deciding the AFC? Let's start with the Bills' offense. Josh Allen is amazing quarterback. He's the second best young quarterback by far, right behind Mahomes, and he's not Mahomes yet, but he's getting up there. He's super close to him. They have impactful players in skill position. Diggs is one of the best receivers in football. Beasley's decent. Dawson Knox. Singletary is a good running back. Their O-line is playing really well. Brian Dabo is locked in. But I'm worried, are they going to be able to keep up in a shootout with Mahomes? Because the Chiefs' offense will score. What's their game plan going to be? Are they going to be able, do they want to get in a shootout with Mahomes? I worry about Brian Dabo sometimes in-game adjustments. He's not the best at that. He has great game plans, but I've noticed kind of when the Bills are stuck, if you watch their games against maybe a Jacksonville game or even the Jets game last week of the season, if you kind of mess up their game plan, Brian Dabo, what are you doing? Are you changing stuff? How are you putting your team in a better place? The one thing about this Bills offense, I think they really need to do this offseason, they really need to start and build a running game. You're in Buffalo. Those Buffalo teams with Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas, they're really good at just running the ball and keeping the ball. That's what I'm worried about this Bills offense. If they were a team like the Titans, who are second in the NFL in time possession, that can keep the ball away from Mahomes, that's really where you want to be. But the Bills are not one of the best teams at running. Allen is probably their best runner this season, other than maybe a Singletary. So I expect the Bills offense to put up points. I'm worried, is it enough? Bills defense. This is really where the game can kind of hinge on. Number one scoring defense. McDermott and Frazier are great defensive coaches. I am worried a little bit about Tre'Davious White being out, but their secondary has still been really good. They have the best safety duo in the league with Brian Poyer and Hyde. Their D-line, really underrated unit. They don't really have a lot of big names that pop up. But when you look into it, their depth, Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Star Latulippe, Jerry Hughes, AJ Epinesa, Mario Addison, these guys can get to the quarterback. They have a lot of depth. I call them the no-name D-line because there's not really just one great player. There's a lot of them on that D-line. So the Bills' defense will have to bring it. They had a not-so-good showing last year's AFC title game. The Chiefs put up a lot of points. The Chiefs' offense, you have Patrick Mahomes at home playing with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. All three of those guys are going to end up in the Hall of Fame. It's Andy Reid. It's in January. They've been able to put up points against every team that Mahomes has played with in the playoffs. If Mahomes is healthy, he's at home, he's not playing Tom Brady in the playoffs, he's going to put up points. They have a lot of speed. Whether it's Brian Pringle, Nicole Hardman, Tyreek Hill, Jerick McKinnon, last week got a good showing. These guys are just going faster than you. There's nothing you can do about it. They have a sneaky good running game if they can stick to it with McKinnon and Williams. I expect them to put up points. But the big thing with the Chiefs' offense this season has been turnovers. We saw it last week against Pittsburgh, early turnover. These turnovers, you can keep calling them fluky, but when they keep happening, there's something wrong here. So Mahomes, he needs to limit those throws, those behind the back, over the shoulder throws, whatever they are. Amazing throws, but Mahomes, less of those, please. And then lastly, the last unit here is the Chiefs' defense. Chiefs defense, what a weird season for them. First, 8 9 weeks, one of the worst units in football, historically bad numbers, and then flip of a switch, they get Melvin Ingram, complete different team now. Chris Jones is playing some of his best football. Frank Clark, their secondary is playing good football, but you can put up points on this Chiefs defense. I think the Chiefs defense is a lot like a lot of Brady's defenses back in the day. Their offense helps them. But if you punch them in the face, they can be. So these guys, Chiefs defense will have to step up. They have good players. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, they can get to the quarterback. They're a very physical team. Just please don't play Daniel Sorensen. That guy, man. Every time the opposing team scores, it's because of Sorensen. Bills Chiefs pick. I just can't pick against Mahomes at home, like similar to Rodgers and at home. I'm gonna go Bills 30, Chiefs 38. I think Chiefs are gonna put up a lot of points, man. So there's my preview. I have Titans, Packers, Rams, and Chiefs winning. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if any of the 8 teams won. That's how good it is. I'm expecting a really good, fun weekend. Let me know what your predictions are. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let's have a fun weekend.